Impact of COVID-19 on project progress, work plan, budget, and options. From July 2019 through early February 2020, the Kura project was functioning generally according to plan. By mid-February 2020, it started to become evident that the COVID-19 crisis would impact the project. The project team began contingency planning at that point. This contingency planning involved limiting and then stopping all project travel, identifying what meetings or gatherings or other project work could be done remotely, and what work had to be postponed. The project sent regular updates to the Project Steering Committee on this as part of the CTA note. Fortunately for the project, much of the work requiring large gatherings and trainings was nearly completed or could be done remotely. In cases where the project team has not been able to travel, local experts have been able to provide support, and thanks to the UNDP administrator's decision to purchase a corporate Zoom account, much of the work of the project has continued smoothly. But not all of it. Some of the activities have been significantly impacted as the situation continues to evolve. These are current new restrictions on travel and weekend curfews in Azerbaijan may impact environmental flow missions. That is to be determined. Scheduling of national project advisory group meetings, regional working group meetings, and the final regional project advisory group meeting are all planned for September and October. At this point, we may be able to hold some of these virtually, but for others, that may not be feasible. Implementation of the second round of the H2O TEL Awards is being converted to online use for future years, as 2020 will not be a normal year for the hotel industry in either country. Implementation of the second round of trainings on rational water use for teachers, schools, community members, and municipal workers in Gori. Now online trainings are being developed for all of Georgia and Azerbaijani schools. Please note, in some cases, such as the municipal water demonstrations, due to the impact of COVID-19, it is not possible to collect reliable empirical measures of the stress reduction impacts. Pollution abatement plan workshops with stakeholders and donor workshops for the pollution abatement pre-feasibility plans are on hold until September and October. Construction at Hajjugabal constructed wetlands was delayed due to limited travel within the country. It has recently been restarted. All of the work for Kurtsinisi Park River restoration has proceeded using local experts and partners working virtually. Within the next 2 months, a field visit by the international expert to the site will be necessary. Further, we are hoping that materials to be purchased will be readily available without delays. Trainings for journalists and study tours, trainings for parliamentarians, and flood risk management trainings may have to be done online if the conditions persist. Distribution of the Kura box in Azerbaijan to local school has been delayed, though all is available online. The likely cancellation or postponement of the Azersu and International Water Council Academic Conference, which the project would have been involved in, but this remains unknown at this time if it will move forward. Implementation of the concerted social marketing campaigns are on hold until the restrictions are lifted. Alternatively, they may be done with only virtual media. This will be decided in August. Draft comic books for distribution to stakeholders is postponed, but these will be available online. Cancellation of the Stockholm World Water Week due to COVID, limiting opportunities to highlight project successes with IW Learn. The GEF IW Learn International Waters Conference date is currently planned for October 2020, but that is being discussed next week. COVID has delayed the installation of the online groundwater monitoring stations due to the remote locations of these sites and inability to assess the current status of the wells by project engineers. This has also delayed the trainings for the use of these systems and must be completed by August, as 4 months are needed to complete these works. Laboratory exchange is delayed for experts from Georgia NEA to conduct pesticide monitoring with colleagues in Azerbaijan with Hydromet colleagues because of COVID travel restrictions, and these will resume as soon as possible. And of course, the Project Steering Committee meeting moved to an online virtual meeting instead of meeting in Kazbegi, Georgia. The uncertainty of the future COVID impacts continues to be monitored and adjusted to by the project team. Our largest impacted budget line is travel, which covers all travel for all national and international experts and attendance of the project team and project beneficiaries at planned international conferences. One adaptive management response to the COVID-19 crisis, specifically to the travel budget, was to transfer a portion of the travel budget for 2020 to cover the additional cost required to hire an international expert to advise on the river restoration in the Kurtzenisi Park. This was approximately $23,000. Additionally, the project management made another adaptive management decision to allocate $35,000 from the travel budget of 2020 to hire additional national experts to provide support to the international experts who cannot travel due to the current restrictions. The additional input from the national experts focuses on collecting data and information needed for the international experts and review and edit of the translated materials in national languages. Also, the national experts will conduct online training for hydrological modeling under the direct supervision of the international expert who cannot travel to the region. Instead, the international expert will train the 2 national experts to develop modeling courses virtually. Depending on the duration of the COVID-19 crisis, the project will work to realize all of the deliverables of the project document or will consult with the Project Steering Committee as the situation becomes more clear. Under GEF and UNDP Vertical Fund Management, the project reports quarterly about the impacts of COVID-19 on project implementation to UNDP and GEF. The next quarterly reporting period will be at the end of June 2020. We are committed to continuing to adapt so that the work of the project can be completed. At this point, we request Steering Committee guidance. Terminal evaluation status and plans based on COVID-19. Based on the current COVID situation as of the second week of June 2020, the project has sufficient resources in terms of time and personnel to complete the project as planned. Time is the resource we are running short of. We know that as it stands now, it will not be possible to collect data on the stress reduction impacts of the project for Components 3 for all demonstration projects. Where possible, proxy data will be used, and the project will create monitoring plans with specific indicators to be measured by those bodies who will assume responsibility. For the drip irrigation demonstration projects, we plan to collect data and to extrapolate implications not only for existing sites, but for expansion of these efforts. A review of the project Gantt chart from the annual report shared with you in May shows that we have been anticipating loosening of restrictions and travel starting in July. We now recognize that this may have been optimistic, as the status of COVID in Azerbaijan has increased after the initial lifting of the quarantine measures. As a result, the government here has taken stricter measures and will not allow international travel until at least 1 July. Further, due to COVID-19, the project has been forced to reschedule a majority of events and activities that cannot be done remotely to the months of September, October, and November. It is likely that if the situation with COVID and travel is such that this will be possible, many other efforts and demands will be placed on stakeholders at this time. This pushes all the work of the project, including final reporting and lessons learned, documentation of results, and measures for long-term sustainability, to December and January 2021. Any delays in these may result in not being able to complete the work of the project by the set closure date of February 28, 2021. Additionally, the delays already caused by COVID will mean it will be unlikely that by the planned time of the terminal evaluator's mission, that activities to be accessed by then will be sufficiently completed to warrant a terminal evaluation. According to GEF requirements, the terminal evaluation must be undertaken 6 months prior to the closure of the project. It may be possible to have this evaluation done virtually. As it stands now, the final Project Steering Committee will be held approximately 14 February 2021, which will not allow the project team time to draft final minutes and close out all project reporting before the end of the project. Based on the inability to use the travel budget allocated for 2020, the project does have the option to request a second no-cost extension for 3 months due to the COVID force majeure, which, if exercised, could provide a bit of release on the project to meet the pre-COVID deadline. We would endeavor to adhere to the project timeline as it is set now, but additional time would allow for a less pressured closing out of the project and more time in case limitations based on the COVID conditions extend past July and August. This is the decision at the discretion of the Project Steering Committee to request from GEF. If it is considered to be viable, a slight shift in the time frame for the terminal evaluation and final Project Steering Committee meeting would be likely.